Hey, welcome back to ziphaus. I'm your host, Bree. I'm so happy to have you guys back. 2020 has literally been, I can't even put words to it, but if you feel the way I feel about 2020, I hope that you find the peace and that your family and friends, pets, everything is safe and sound, including yourself. Today, I have Kevin Ross. Kevin Ross is a singer-songwriter known for, couple of lyrics here and there for, I don't know, Tang, TreySongz, ToniBraxton. I don't know if you heard of them, but if you have, you might want to watch this. Kevin, welcome to the house. I'm so happy to have you.
Tax Davis on the beat.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited about this. Before we started, y'all, I was jamming out to the song RealBlack featuring him, JacobLatimore, TrevorJackson. Can we start off why today started off so beautifully with this track?
Honestly, I kind of like wrote the song maybe a couple of days after George Floyd's passing, and so I just seen kind of the outcry and the outpour of just the resiliency and us as a culture banding together and not allowing for this bigotry and this hatred to continue to fester within our society. And so that really inspired me to say, okay, I feel like these people need a soundtrack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I need for Black men and women that look like me, that come from the same places as me, to have an updated version of celebration of us, of Black excellence, of who we are. Not what we're trying to be, not where we came from, but where we are at within this current moment, to celebrate us within the present, no matter where you stand, the highest of the high as far as of the Black excellence hierarchy, all the way down to, you know, the workers that help us, the heroes, the doctors, the nurses. I mean, even now with COVID-19 and the pandemic, the delivery drivers, each and every person counts, and how we contribute to society counts. And so I just felt like we needed an updated version that celebrated us. So that's what RealBlack came about. So I just kind of wrote my verse and produced the record, and then I kind of sent it off, and just to see if Trevor would be down for it. And then Trevor got on it, and I was like, you know what? I feel like we should really kind of make this a holistic thing. And since Trevor,
Black Boy Joy situation.
Yeah, you know, and Trevor and Jacob had worked before. I did a record for them called True-ish, or True Shit.
Okay, yes.
A couple years back. So we had history of creating together, but instead of me being behind the scenes this time, it was me actually joining the festivities as an artist as well. So it really came together awesome, and I'm very proud of all of us and how we contribute to the record.
I think that it was an excellent contribution, because I feel like in the time that it is now, I have a huge debate between which is oversaturating the negative and then empowering. So I feel that the track itself was like, and it wasn't as like a harsh force sound, if you know what I mean, like lyrically, because we know your pen is excellent, but it was a very like soft feeling of like pride. Like I'm listening to this and I'm like, yeah, I'm real Black, and I'm not being aggressive towards you. I'm not doing all of these stereotypical things that are mostly tied into embracing that part about being a Black person. So it was very nice to really like ease into the morning listening to it. It was a beautiful song, and everyone watching, I recommend that you listen to it. We're definitely going to put in the link in the bio, so
yes,
you're welcome. Speaking on your penmanship, TreySongz, ToniBraxton, Tank, sir, please tell me where, penmanship and the ability to write a song is a very powerful skill. You know, some people are able to execute, some people are not, and to be able to write a song and to be an artist as well and can execute your writing and then execute someone else's delivery is something to speak upon. So sir, please tell us where did this penmanship come? Did you start as a kid? You wrote the alphabet song for us. Like, how did this happen?
Nah, honestly, it happened because there was no one there to do it for me, or I didn't have a team of people or anyone that saw my abilities or talent at a young age. So I knew that I had melodies, I had something like songs in my heart. Now, whether they were good or bad, I knew that it needed to come out of me. And through that process of just going through the trials and tribulations of just trying to make a decent song, you start coming across mentors, you start coming across other writers and peers that kind of do the same things as you. And so, you start learning different methods and like what's more effective. And I think that through time, of course, it starts from you saying, okay, I can make a song, then to say, okay, then I want to hear somebody sing a song that I wrote. And then it's like, oh, that's a crazy feeling. And then you're like, okay, well, how can I then take these songs and then bring them to radio? Or how can I take this song number one? What is it about, the psyche of a person that makes them want to play a song over and over again? And and it's different layers and steps. It's like writers and producers are like, low-key psychologists in a way, because you have to be able to tap in to the majority. And that's not an easy thing to do. And that takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of practice. I will say it's been, 10 years since I've kind of been in the music industry. And I don't think, honestly, I think my first placement came within year one. But I didn't have a record on radio maybe until year 4. And then my artistry didn't necessarily kick off until like year 6. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's been a process. But you learn how to differentiate like what you do for you, and what makes sense like for you, and what you do for other artists as well. So it's a journey for sure.
When you're writing for an artist, does it begin as in you are just kind of going through like an emotional template with yourself, and then you decide, oh, this may be a fit for TreySongz or ToniBraxton or ABC artist? Or does it originally begin with the intent to send it directly to the specific artist?
Honestly, it varies. So it's like 50-50. Like sometimes we get the call and be like, yo, such and such is looking for stuff, send some stuff on the way, and then other times you're just writing songs that you think people can relate to, like conversation pieces. So it varies. Like, so for Tony's Sex and Cigarettes record, that was a record that was more of a conversation piece. Like, we didn't write it for her. It just so happens that, shout out to Tony Dixon and all the like Babyface team out in LA over at Brandon's Way and all that stuff, JQ. We were just writing. You know what I mean? And so it just actually transpired like months later that she would name the project Sex and Cigarettes. It would go on to be nominated for a Grammy and all that stuff. But then on the flip side, you have very intentful writing like Trey, where it was like, having a conversation with him, sitting in LA, and him playing the records that he had so far and explaining his vision and all that stuff, so you really get a good grip of where he's going and where he's headed, and being intentful in what you're writing about. And in that process, I mean, we wrote, oh my God, I think I ended up writing like 20, 30 records, but I think we only placed maybe 5 or 6, you know what I mean? Which is like a decent average, like for any like writer. Like, if anybody knows, it's like if you write that much and you still got, you know what I mean, that amount,
a lot more left.
That's pretty good. But still, I mean, it just goes to show that, like, I think the ultimate like main nucleus and the main key to it is just conversation pieces. Like, you got to write about what people want to hear. Not just what's on your heart, but like, what is it that most people are going through? Or then taking like people's like age bracket to say, okay, where would they be in life? What are they going through?
So there's a real science to this.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I was grinding like super hard for at least a year straight. like studio session after studio session. Caught a break with get my placement on Jamie Foxx. That was my first placement.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the coin of that, because it was a double-edged sword, I didn't like the first copy of the album that I got, like my name wasn't on there. And I was just like, oh, like I was crushed.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't give me like credit. And I'm like, I'm hearing my vocals on the track. I'm like, what in the hell? But that was a lesson, you know, that needed to be learned as well, as far as like that was my introduction into the music industry, where it was like, you got your placement, but you know, make sure that the business is handled and make sure that you look out for you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if I'm not for myself, then who will be? You know, and so even though people may not agree with that proverb, you know, like holistically, it's just on the sake of business. I think it's a great business proverb to make sure that you're protected, especially as a young Black entrepreneur and creative. I felt like I needed to have, if not a tribe, but at least a circle of people that had my best interest at heart, or to be around people that were smarter than me, so that I could figure out to say, how do I learn and make sure that my business is taken care of, you know, so that I don't continuously like hit this roadblock of not getting credit or being shortchanged. So I learned that very fast. So that was like my first and last experience as far as that's concerned. So, you know, that was that. And then, you know, throughout the years, you know, you're working with all of the producers that you see on television and all this stuff. And it's really, really great. Yeah. Get signed and all this stuff happens. But truly, me being in the driver's seat, it felt long as hell. You know what I mean? Like it felt like every day was just like, oh my gosh, when is another break gonna happen? When is another, you know, it's addictive, you know, because you're like, okay, I get a placement, but it doesn't change my life. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's the difference too. As a writer, we don't get paid up front like producers. So it's like, it's really all or nothing. It's like, so if you get an album placement and that album don't go platinum, your life doesn't change. And now you're chasing after the next placement to try to figure out how to keep your lights on. It's great for the portfolio, but you know, it doesn't create any monetary gain in the way that it's effective to your livelihood. And so I had to learn that as well. Like, okay, if I'm going for this, you know, let me go about this in a different way. And you know, you start to change your approach to say, okay, if I'm gonna write, like, I'm not just gonna write a vibe, like I'm gonna write something that can be a single or something that they can use up
that
front.
impacts the culture. Yeah.
Thank God for streaming too. You know what I mean? So people can actually make a playlist to say, we like this record, you know, versus I'm sorry.
Do you feel that the new way that streaming has happened, it actually has helped with getting monetary gain versus like the traditional style a couple years ago? Do you think it is a very helpful source to gain money for people who are up and coming and not like obviously going to make 250,000 streams in the first 3 hours? Do you think it's been helpful?
It is a double-edged sword for sure. It has its benefits and it has its downsides too. And I explain that. Like the benefit is that you can actually have a career now. You know, 10 years ago there was only one route, and that was to be signed to a major label, partner with a major label, and you know, use the major funding and the major network and the major connections in order for you to be everywhere. But that's not the case. Thank God. So like you said, you know, with streaming, with DSPs, you know, now your fans, the people that follow you on social media, that love your story, that's into just you as a brand, now they get to invest in you personally, in a sense to say, okay, I may not like this whole album, but now I can stream this one record that I love over and over and over and over and over again, right? So that's the plus. The downside to that is actual like monetary, or at least like, how do I say this? It's like, eventually we're going to go through like creative reparations, essentially, because we get paid 0.00076, you know, %. You know what I mean? So it's like every time that you play a song, we don't even get 1 cent. We get a percentage or a fraction of a cent. So 1 million streams is
Wow.
equivalent to $2,500, right, on Spotify. And then that varies and fluctuates per quarter, right? So, or every month, it fluctuates because it's just like radio. For people who may not know the business as it pertains to radio and a lot of like the entertainment mediums, how they get paid is through advertisement. That's always been the biggest thing as far as for social media now, but television and radio and even DSPs, advertisement. So however much advertisement is put into these places is contingent upon how much you give back in return as the creative, right? As the license holder. So that, yeah, I mean, listen, being independent is not for everybody. You just got to understand that when you're in a major system, you're glorified work for hire, right? So, you know, certain work for hires get paid more than others. But at the end of the day, you're still a work for hire. Your IP, your intellectual property doesn't belong to you anymore. You don't own it. So when you really think about that, and it's like you don't work so hard and you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and then you have to ask the person that you submitted this record to, because now they own it, to say, hey, can I give this to such and such and such and such, and can this be played on HBO? Can this be played on this? And they're like, well, how much are they paying? Well, no, we're going to have to decline that because now we have complete autonomy. I wanted to try something different. I wanted to be bold. I wanted to experiment this time around, especially being an independent artist where I'm like, I don't really know what people want from me, you know? So let me create this spectrum of music within the genre to see what they like, what they're going to consume a lot more. It's never too late. It's never too early to live out your dreams, to get started. Don't think, just do it. Just begin. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just start. You know, if you start something today, you know, you ain't got to finish it. Make sure that you pick it back up tomorrow and get one step closer to finishing whatever that is. Never let fear paralyze you. Of course, follow me at Kevin Ross Music on all social media platforms. Check out the Mashup Show, Facebook Live, Monday night, 8 p.m., each and every time. Oh yeah, my bad. One last thing. Make sure that you guys register to vote. And if you do register to vote, make sure that you're really looking at the ballot from the bottom up. You know, make sure that, of course, you know, you choose who you want to lead this country. Make sure that it is a close reflection of what you stand for, what we stand for as well. But also make sure that you vote for these people that are within your community, these people that you can touch, these people that write these laws as well, that really affect our lives on a daily basis. So, you know, this election is one of the most important, especially during this tumultuous time. We want to make sure that we have representatives from the bottom up, as far as within the legal system, the justice system, the executive, that reflects what we want to see. We want change, and we have to vote in that manner.